The mountains of China, known as the roof of the world. A sanctuary for a special breed of survivors, adapted to live at the highest limits of life on our planet. As continents collided, mighty mountains rose. Animals found themselves battling to survive in one of the world's harshest environments. Extremes of hot and cold, wet and dry, low oxygen and high radiation create one of the most challenging environments for life on Earth. Only a weird breed of mutants can live up here on the roof of the world. China's Wild West, an unknown realm of stunning natural beauty. From the towering Himalaya in the west to the edge of the Gobi Desert in the north, vast Tibetan grasslands flanked by alpine forests. China's high-altitude environments contain some of our world's most isolated and pristine mountain wilderness. They may be beautiful, but life is tough and unforgiving in the world's highest ecosystems. Brutal weather, thin air, and intense solar radiation mean every animal living on the roof of the world must evolve unique ways to survive. On the edge of the famous Tibetan Plateau lies a mountainous area that is mysterious and unknown. The Hingduan Mountains of southwestern China. Hidden in these frozen alpine forests are strange creatures found nowhere else on Earth. The Yunnan snub-nosed monkey. They live at altitudes of up to 4,500 meters above sea level, the highest living primate in the world. Snub-nosed monkeys have evolved to become one of nature's greatest survivors. Compared to relatives that live in tropical jungles, they have short limbs, stocky, compact bodies, and thick fur, adaptations that reduce heat loss in freezing temperatures. Some scientists believe their odd-looking nose could have evolved to combat the cold, preventing frostbite on otherwise bare flesh. The monkeys also have a highly efficient metabolism that makes the most of the limited oxygen in the thin mountain air. In these high-altitude forests, food is scarce. There are no fruits or tender leafy plants, just frozen conifer trees. The snub-nosed monkeys have a limited menu, so they've developed a taste for a primitive plant called lichen. This stringy plant is tough to chew and digest, but it's better than starving. It can take up to 15 years for the slow-growing lichen to regenerate, So the monkeys must forage far and wide within their 25 square kilometer range. The snub-nosed monkeys travel in small family groups, led by an alpha male, and can cover 1,500 meters in a day. When they're not crossing frozen forests, the monkeys rest and conserve energy. Yawning reveals the male's surprisingly long and sharp canine teeth. They're not for chewing on lichen. They're for chewing on each other. This male had his lip ripped open in a previous fight. Now he must battle again. Another alpha male has entered his territory and is ready for a fight. The challenger is defeated. Scarface reigns supreme. The Yunnan snub-nosed monkey is not the only unusual animal in the mountain forests of southwestern China. They're also home to the world's rarest and most primitive bear, a living fossil called the giant panda. They belong to a family of carnivores, including grizzly and polar bears. But giant pandas have taken a very different evolutionary path, one that led them to depend on a kind of woody grass, bamboo. One of the fastest growing plants on Earth, some species can grow a meter a day. But it's also one of the least nutritious and most indigestible plants on the planet. A strange favorite food for an animal that's technically a carnivore. Panda bears have evolved several unique features to help them survive on bamboo. They have extra strong jaw muscles to chew through bamboo stalks. This is what gives them their familiar round face and chubby cheeks. A panda's throat and stomach have a tough lining lubricated by mucus to protect them from splinters. But the strangest adaptation to eating bamboo is in their hand. It has long been known that the panda has an unusual extra digit, a mysterious thumb. It's not a real thumb, but a wrist bone that has evolved to help grasp bamboo stalks. Recent analysis has found the panda's hand is even stranger than we first thought. The bizarre bears actually have 2 extra digits. Another wrist bone on the other side of the hand has also adapted to help their grip. When the mutant hand holds a bamboo stalk, the 5 normal fingers and 2 extra wrist spurs act like a double clamp, allowing the panda to manipulate bamboo with incredible control. The panda's hand is one of the most extraordinary examples of limb evolution on Earth. It helps them consume over 20 kilograms of bamboo every day. It's a very strange diet for a bear. So why did the giant panda take such an unusual evolutionary path? The answers lie deep in China's ancient past. In a limestone cave called Jinyin, Professor Jin Chengzhu has uncovered the remains of China's earliest panda.
我们发现的小种大熊猫呢，大约200万年以前的那个大熊猫，比较早期性的大熊猫，它跟那个现在的大熊猫区别比较很容易看到的，它的那个丝状肌呢很短，额骨比较长。
Over 2 million years ago, the panda's ancestor was widespread across China. Back then, China's first panda wasn't a giant. It was a dwarf. The dwarf or pygmy panda was half the size of modern pandas, and although it ate bamboo, it had not yet evolved to depend on it. But in primeval China, there was competition for food in this forest. Professor Jin has just made another amazing fossil discovery. A tooth from a gigantic creature that also once lived in this cave. China's forests were once home to the biggest ape that ever lived, Gigantopithecus. Researchers estimate Gigantopithecus stood more than 3 meters tall and weighed over 500 kilograms, 3 times the weight of a gorilla. Its massive jaw and flat teeth suggest the giant ape fed on plants of many kinds, including bamboo. This means it competed with the pygmy panda for food and living space.
这是那个巨人的，这是那个小种大熊猫的。我们在这个地区头一次发现那个小种大熊猫和那个巨人在一起的。
But the two animals that once lived in this cave met very different fates. When the last ice age hit, China's forests shrank and food became limited. The giant apes may have struggled to find enough to survive. Some scientists believe that early humans may also have hunted the giant apes. Whatever the reason, Gigantopithecus vanished from the earth around 200,000 years ago. The pygmy panda adapted much more successfully to the changing climate and limited food supply. A radical strategy saved them from the fate of the giant apes. Pandas followed the forests as they shrank and moved into the cold mountains. They grew much larger and evolved to specialize on eating one kind of plant that still remained abundant: bamboo. Becoming a dedicated grass eater saved this unique bear from extinction. The mighty Himalaya, the world's tallest mountain range. They may seem ancient, but these are among the youngest mountains on Earth. The roof of the world was pushed up by titanic geological forces, and they haven't finished yet. The Himalayas still grow by 1 centimeter every year, and in some special places, the fury below the Earth bursts to the surface. Scattered throughout Tibet are volcanic hot springs, places where boiling water emerges through deep faults in the Earth's crust. One reptile has taken advantage of this highly specialized habitat. This is the hot spring snake. It lives beside a handful of thermal springs on China's Tibetan Plateau at altitudes above 4,000 meters. That makes it the highest living snake in the world. Most snakes don't live at such a high altitude because they are cold-blooded. If the temperature drops below freezing, snakes will usually die after just a few hours or be too sluggish to move. But the thermal springs provide life-saving heat for the cold-blooded reptile. Other creatures share the warm water around the springs and provide all the food the snake ever needs, if it can catch them. The snake can only survive in a small comfort zone. Close to the hot springs, the water is boiling. But if it strays further than 800 meters away from the pools, the snake will die of cold. The snakes were here long before the mountains and hot springs. Their original home was flat and tropical. But as the roof of the world rose up around them, their habitat changed radically. A series of cataclysmic geological events turned tropical lowlands into the highest places on Earth. 165 million years ago, an ancient supercontinent called Gondwana was breaking up. A section which we now call India headed north on a collision course with the edge of Asia. 45 million years ago, India crashed into Asia like a car into a brick wall. As the continents clashed, they squeezed and thrust up layers of ancient seabed. These became the Himalaya, the tallest mountains on Earth. The collision of India into Asia was so powerful, it created not just one, but two of the world's most impressive geological features. The soft ocean floor caught between the continents crumpled up into the Himalaya. But the rock of Asia's continental crust is much tougher. As India plowed into it, a massive slab of Asia's crust became thicker. It has risen to form the world's largest and highest area of flat land. The Tibetan Plateau is around 2.5 million square kilometers in size, and on average, it is 5 kilometers above sea level. It's one of the most extreme and demanding environments on Earth. The highest reaches of the Tibetan Plateau are so harsh that no large animals can live here all year round. Except the world's toughest cow. Wild yaks roam the plateau over 6 kilometers above sea level. These rugged survivors endure conditions that would kill most animals because they have evolved a range of unique adaptations. Yaks can stand 2 meters tall at the shoulder and weigh over 1,000 kilograms. This massive bulk and their thick, shaggy fur prevent heat loss in sub-zero temperatures. But there are other challenges to living the high life. At this altitude, the air has half as much oxygen as at sea level. Ultraviolet radiation is twice as intense. It's difficult to breathe, and the sun burns relentlessly, unless you have the specialized anatomy of a wild yak. Wild yaks have 14 pairs of ribs, one more than domestic cattle, creating a large chest cavity with space for a heart and lungs almost twice the size of other cows. Yaks also have unique blood chemistry that is more efficient at transporting oxygen around the body. These adaptations help the yaks extract enough oxygen from the thin air to survive. Their thick skin blocks UV radiation, and their sweat glands no longer work, which prevents moisture and heat loss. But there's a downside to not sweating. When temperatures exceed 20 degrees, wild yaks can't keep cool and start to feel the effects of heat stress. So when spring arrives, the herd heads back uphill to their cool summer base. Wild yaks are the only large animal that can live year-round in one of the most inhospitable places on Earth. But millions of years ago, a whole legion of furry megabeasts dominated the frozen plateau. The last great ice age began 2.5 million years ago. As the Earth cooled, most of the northern hemisphere became buried under ice sheets up to 2 kilometers thick. Only those animals adapted to frozen conditions survived. The Ice Age was dominated by huge furry mammals such as the woolly rhinoceros. It was always thought they originally evolved in Arctic regions and spread out across Asia and Europe. But a recent discovery has turned this theory upside down. In 2011, Chinese paleontologists uncovered a prehistoric graveyard high on the Tibetan Plateau. It was full of Ice Age megabeasts, including the first ever woolly rhinoceros fossils found in Tibet. When scientists dated the woolly rhino fossils, there was a stunning surprise. The bones were 3.7 million years old, meaning these woolly rhinos thrived in Tibet long before the Ice Age began. A million years before Earth froze, the Tibetan Plateau was already full of animals adapted for the snow and ice. Their thick, woolly fur and huge size allowed them to thrive when the big freeze hit the rest of the planet. Woolly rhinos spread out from their home on the Tibetan Plateau throughout northern Asia and Europe. It seems Tibet was the cold cradle of evolution for many Ice Age megabeasts. The woolly rhino and its fellow Ice Age giants became extinct 12,000 years ago. The yak is the last of the Ice Age megabeasts left on the plateau. These huge, shaggy cows are the ultimate high-altitude survivor. Since the Ice Age ended, the glaciers and ice sheets have retreated from most of the Tibetan Plateau, leaving behind a vast, fertile grassland. The grasslands of the Tibetan Plateau are a high-altitude refuge for a group of unusual creatures. Meet the pika. This cute, fluffy relative of the rabbit is tougher than it looks. It has to be to survive up here. Each pika eats half its body weight in grass every day. This is fuel for a fast metabolism and is the key to the pika's survival. Like every animal that lives on the plateau, Pika are at the mercy of the harsh and changeable weather. But no matter how cold it gets, Pika don't shiver. They don't need to. Most mammals produce heat by twitching their muscles as they shiver. Pika have evolved a different strategy. Their turbocharged metabolism keeps them warm by rapidly burning fat. It's built-in central heating, powered by eating huge amounts of grass. Pika live fast and die young. They rarely survive for more than a year. But they make the most of their limited time on Earth by breeding furiously. Each female can produce up to 45 babies in her only breeding season. The harsh weather is not the only threat that Pika face up here. The Tibetan Plateau is also home to a dangerous predator. Tibetan bears are smaller than their American cousins. But just like grizzlies, they spend their entire summer loading up on enough protein and fat to survive their winter hibernation. A moldy old yak skull will do. Every scrap of meat is precious up here. But this mother and baby are looking for something a lot fresher. While some grizzly bears feast on salmon, Tibetan bears fish for Pika. Baby has beginner's luck and soon digs up a tasty morsel. Her mother is less fortunate. Her lunch makes a break for freedom. The bears will roam the plateau all summer, building up reserves for winter. Tibetan bears are a threat to all the animals of the plateau. One species migrates huge distances to get away from them. Lake Janai is a shimmering jewel of jade-colored water at an altitude of almost 5 kilometers. This is one of the most isolated places in China and the destination for one of Asia's great wildlife events, the Tibetan antelope migration. Every summer, tens of thousands of Tibetan antelope, or chiru, travel hundreds of kilometers across the Great Plateau to reach Lake Janai. Chiru have evolved to be high-altitude specialists. A double layer of fur insulates them against the frozen air and is considered the finest and warmest wool in the animal kingdom. The lumps on the side of the chiru's muzzle are extra air sacs that help it breathe in the low oxygen atmosphere. This extra oxygen boost enables chiru to run at extremely fast speeds for a high-altitude animal, up to 80 kilometers per hour. First dozens, then hundreds and thousands of migrating antelope arrive at Lake Janai from all over the vast plateau. Only females that have mated make this epic journey. They come all this way for one reason: to give birth in a safe and secret place. After about 6 months of pregnancy, mothers give birth to a single precious calf. Chiru calves are born ready to survive the challenges of the plateau. Their legs are wobbly at first, but within 15 minutes of birth, the calves can walk. Their sandy-colored fur camouflages them in the dry grass, while Mom wanders off to graze. But this baby is impatient and keen to explore his new world. He wanders off and soon becomes lost among the crowds. This mother is not interested in sharing her attention, and he is driven away from the herd. A dangerous move when beady eyes are watching. The secret birthing grounds of the antelope are not completely safe. Sharp-eyed Himalayan vultures have followed the migrating Chiru. Their almost 3-meter wingspan enables them to soar effortlessly on thermals above the plateau. If the lost calf hurts itself, the vultures will wait for it to die and then strip it down to the bone. Luckily, Mom shows up and chases the scavenger away. Mother and baby are reunited at last. But there is no escaping the biggest danger on the Tibetan plateau: the weather. Storm clouds gather, and freezing sleet lashes the plains. It soon turns to snow and whiteout conditions. The antelope can do nothing but hunker down and hope their thick fur protects them from the blizzard. But not all of the Chiru survive. The hostile climate kills half of all calves before they are 2 months old. The long migration to Lake Jonai has a sad ending for this mother. The surviving mothers and babies spend up to 20 days at the secret birthing grounds, then prepare to make the long journey home. It will take the Chiru over a month to trek 300 kilometers back to their winter grazing fields. Lake Jonai is again deserted. Only the dead and their scavengers remain. The rise of the Himalaya and Tibetan Plateau had massive effects on the climate of the entire continent of Asia. As the mountains rose, they blocked rain clouds from moving north. This cast a huge rain shadow over northern China and created Asia's largest desert, the Gobi. A desert like no other, where temperatures range from 50 degrees in summer to -40 in winter. The air is so cold and dry that one animal has evolved a bizarre-looking appendage just to breathe. The saiga antelope has a remarkable nose, an inflatable trunk that keeps air warm in winter and cool in the scorching Gobi summer. Inside is an intricate network of bones, hairs, and blood vessels. During winter, the saiga's trunk helps to warm freezing air before it is taken into the lungs. And in summer, the same system cools the blood. It's like a natural air conditioner on the front of the saiga's face. The hairy nose also helps to filter out the desert dust. But even these remarkable adaptations do not allow saiga to live at high altitude all year round. As winter approaches, they migrate to lower-lying desert valleys. The Gobi Desert is not the only unusual environment in China created by the roof of the world. 2,000 kilometers to the south lies a totally different landscape. But it too is home to creatures with strange noses. Yunnan snub-nosed monkeys. As snow covers the forests of the Hingduan Mountains, winter doesn't bother the highest living primates in the world. Less than 1,500 of these wonderfully bizarre creatures are left in existence, restricted to just one mountain range. They are one of the rarest and least known primates on Earth. But they're not the only kind of snub-nosed monkey in the Hingduans. Just a few valleys away lives a close relative that is even stranger. The golden snub-nosed monkey. They live at lower altitudes than their relatives in Yunnan, but still need a thick fur coat to stay warm. The monkeys chew on tree bark in winter, but come down to the ground in summer to feed on seeds and fruit. Male golden snub-nosed monkeys have a unique anatomical feature that no other primate on Earth possesses. Strange, warty growths at the corner of their mouths. Their exact purpose is still a mystery. Some researchers have speculated that they are glands that secrete some kind of chemical used in communication. Babies start off life much paler than adults and will only become golden when they are a few years old. The skin around their mouth is pink when they are born and slowly goes blue as they mature. The juvenile monkeys are intelligent and mischievous. When they're not bothering their mother, they practice gymnastics. And even make a game of grooming each other. And there's always time for a group hug, not just for bonding, but also useful when the mountain air gets chilly. How can two species of snub-nosed monkey evolve in the same area? Why do they never meet? The answer lies with the same massive forces that created the Himalaya and the Tibetan Plateau. The Hingduan Mountains are not part of the Himalaya, but they were created as a kind of side effect of the mighty clash of continents. The colossal forces that thrust up the highest places on Earth are still at work. Just a million years ago, the Tibetan Plateau underwent another growth spurt, which forged a unique landscape in southwestern China. Caught in the collision between India and Asia, the Earth's crust is being squeezed like a tube of toothpaste. As it flows eastwards, the crust rotates and fractures and is pushed up into a series of steep parallel ranges that run north to south, the Hingduans. The parallel mountain ranges are so steep that animals cannot cross from one valley to another. Biologists call these areas sky islands, and they are ideal places for new species to evolve. A spectacular example of this are the snub-nosed monkeys. A million years ago, there was only one species, but the Hingduans formed impassable barriers, dividing and isolating monkey populations from each other. Groups of snub-nosed monkeys quickly evolved into separate species, each with their own bizarre quirks. The beautiful and mysterious monkeys are the subject of many local legends, but they share their mountain forest with China's truly iconic animal. As winter begins to hit the mountain forests in the west of Sichuan province, the pandas barely notice. Like most bears, pandas are expert climbers and spend their resting time high up trees. But before long, they must climb down to the ground and feed again. Pandas don't hibernate in winter like most of their relatives. Their exclusive diet of bamboo doesn't provide them with enough fat reserves. They are prisoners to bamboo all year round. Pandas spend up to 10 hours a day chewing on the tough, woody grass, and they still barely get enough nutrients to survive. A Chinese scientific team is working to solve the mystery of the panda's addiction to bamboo. But first, they have to find one. No easy task in the steep, merciless terrain of the Hingduan Mountains. Giant panda were once widespread across southern China and even as far as Vietnam and Myanmar. But as the climate became drier, the bamboo forest retreated and panda population shrank with them. The unique geography of the Hingduans means they intercept rain from the yearly monsoons. This wet microclimate created a refuge for both bamboo forests and the strange bears that depend on them. There are only around 1,600 wild panda left in existence. And trying to find one in these mountains is like trying to find a needle in a haystack. Luckily, the scientific team have fitted tracking collars to the pandas in this area and can search for them using a radio antenna. Even so, it can take hours to find a wild panda. At last, the scientists find one of the elusive study animals.
我们主要通过给大熊猫佩戴无源链项圈呢，我们可以在个体水平上研究大熊猫的它的觅食策略。
By carefully observing what the panda eats and then collecting its droppings, these scientists made a major breakthrough in understanding the panda's dependence on bamboo.
但是我们以前的研究发现， 大熊猫实际上是可以利用组织中的一部分纤维素和半纤维素的。
The researchers found that the panda's gut contains bacteria called Clostridium. The bacteria help their host by producing enzymes that partially break down the woody bamboo. This partly solves the mystery of how panda can survive on such a nutritionally poor diet, but not completely. Even with the help of their special gut bacteria, pandas still only absorb a fraction of the nutrients available in bamboo. The panda's relatives, such as brown bears and grizzlies, will eat almost anything in order to survive. But even though they are still anatomically a carnivore, panda bears eat almost nothing but bamboo and can starve to death if it is not available. It seems they are just not interested in eating meat. Now, at last, we know why. Scientists sequencing giant panda DNA have uncovered a mutation in their taste genes. Umami, the taste associated with savory protein-heavy foods like meat, is sensed through a gene called TAS1R1. Scientists discovered the giant panda's TAS1R1 gene was deactivated by a mutation that occurred 4 million years ago. Since that mutation, panda have lost their taste for meat and become addicted to bamboo instead. This ancient survivor found refuge in the unique Hingduan Mountains and became almost completely dependent on a food that barely sustains their life. China's giant panda is proof that evolution can work in very strange ways. A titanic collision between India and Asia created the tallest mountain range on Earth and forced up the vast Tibetan Plateau. Only those creatures that could adapt to the harsh, high-altitude conditions survived on the roof of the world. Mutation and evolution combined to create a caste of rugged mountaineers with unique anatomy and behavior that enables them to thrive at the very limits of life on our planet.